A crop circle, crop formation, or corn circle is a pattern created by flattening a crop, usually a cereal. The term was first coined in the early 1980s by Colin Andrews. Crop circles have been described as all falling within the range of the sort of thing done in hoaxes by Tana Edis, professor of physics at Truman State University. Although obscure natural causes or alien origins of crop circles are suggested by fringe theorists, there is no scientific evidence for such explanations, and all crop circles are consistent with human causation. The number of reports of crop circles has substantially increased since the 1970s. There has been scant scientific study of them. Circles in the United Kingdom are not distributed randomly across the landscape, but appear near roads, areas of medium to dense population, and cultural heritage monuments such as Stonehenge or Avebury. In 1991, two hoaxers, Doe Bauer and Dave Chorley, took credit for having created many circles throughout England after one of their circles was described by an investigator as impossible for human beings to make. Formations are usually created overnight, although some are reported to have appeared during the day. In contrast to crop circles or crop formations, archaeological remains can cause crop marks in the fields in the shapes of circles and squares, but they do not appear overnight, and they are always in the same places every year. Nearly half of all crop circles found in the UK in 2003 were located within a 15 kilometers, 9.3 miles radius of the Avebury stone circles. A 1678 news pamphlet, The Mowing Devil, or Strange News out of Hertfordshire, is claimed by some crop circle devotees to be the first depiction of a crop circle. Crop circle researcher Jim Schnabel does not consider it to be a historical precedent because it describes the stalks as being cut rather than bent. See folklore section. In 1686, an English naturalist, Robert Plot, reported on rings or arcs of mushrooms, sea fairy rings, in the Natural History of Stafford, Shire, and proposed airflows from the sky as a cause. In 1991, meteorologist Terence Meaden linked this report with modern crop circles, a claim that has been compared with those made by Eric von Daniken. An 1880 letter to the editor of Nature by amateur scientist John Rand Capron describes how several circles of flattened crops in a field were formed under suspicious circumstances and possibly caused by cyclonic wind action. Presented much the same character, viz., a few standing stalks as a center, some prostrate stalks with their heads arranged pretty evenly in a direction forming a circle round the center, and outside there a circular wall of stalks which had not suffered. In 1932, the archaeologist E.S.C. Kirwan observed 4 dark rings in a field at Stoughton Down near Chichester, but could examine only one, a circle in which the barley was lodged or beaten down, while the interior area was very slightly mounded up. In 1963, Patrick Moore described a crater in a potato field in Wiltshire that he considered was probably caused by an unknown meteoric body. In nearby wheat fields, there were several circular and elliptical areas where the wheat had been flattened. There was evidence of spiral flattening. He thought they could be caused by air currents from the impact, since they led towards the crater. Astronomer Hugh Ernest Butler observed similar craters and said they were likely caused by lightning strike. During the 1960s, there were many reports of UFO sightings and circular formations in swamp reeds and sugarcane fields in Tully, Queensland, Australia, and in Canada. For example, on 8 August 1967, 3 circles were found in a field in Duhamel, Alberta, Canada. Department of National Defense investigators concluded that it was artificial, but couldn't say who made them or how. The most famous case is the 1966 Tully saucer nest, when a farmer said he witnessed a saucer-shaped craft rise 30 or 40 feet, 12 meters from a swamp, and then fly away. On investigating, he found a nearly circular area, 32 feet long by 25 feet wide, where the grass was flattened in clockwise curves to water level within the circle, and the reeds had been uprooted from the mud. The local police officer, the Royal Australian Air Force, and the University of Queensland concluded that it was most probably caused by natural causes, like a downdraft, a willy dust devil, or a waterspout. In 1973, G.J. Odgers, Director of Public Relations, Department of Defense, Air Office, wrote to a journalist that the saucer was probably debris lifted by the causing Willy Willy. British pranksters Doe Bauer and Dave Chorley say they started creating crop circles in British cornfields in 1978, inspired by the Tully's saucer nest case. The first film to depict a geometric crop circle, in this case created by super intelligent ants, is the 1974 science fiction film Phase Ibe. The film has been cited as a possible inspiration or influence on the prank. Since the 1960s, there has been a surge of ufologists in Wiltshire, and there were rumors of saucer nests appearing in the area, but they were never photographed. There are other pre-1970s reports of circular formations, especially in Australia and Canada, but they were always simple circles, which could have been caused by whirlwind. In 14 Times, David Wood reported that in 1940 he had already made crop circles near Gloucestershire using ropes. In 1997, the Oxford English Dictionary recorded the earliest usage of the term crop circle. The coining of the term crop circle is attributed to Colin Andrews in the late 1970s or early 1980s. The majority of reports of crop circles have appeared and spread since the late 1970s, as many circles began appearing throughout the English countryside. This phenomenon became widely known in the late 1980s, after the media started to report crop circles in Hampshire and Wiltshire, after Bowers and Chorley's 1991 statement that they were responsible for many of them. Circles started appearing all over the world. To date, approximately 10,000 crop circles have been reported internationally from locations such as the former Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, Japan, US, and Canada. Skeptics note a correlation between crop circles, recent media coverage, and the absence of fencing and anti-trespassing legislation. Although farmers expressed concern at the damage caused to their crops, local response to the appearance of crop circles was often enthusiastic, with locals taking advantage of the increase of tourism and visits from scientists, crop circle researchers, and individuals seeking spiritual experiences. The market for crop circle interest consequently generated bus or helicopter tours of circle sites, walking tours, t-shirts, and book sales. Since the start of the 21st century, crop formations have increased in size and complexity, with some featuring as many as 2,000 different shapes and some incorporating complex mathematical and scientific characteristics. In 1991, two self-professed pranksters, Doe Bauer and Dave Chorley, made headlines by claiming that it was they who started the phenomenon in 1978 with the use of simple tools consisting of a plank of wood, rope, and a baseball cap fitted with a loop of wire to help them walk in straight line. To prove their case, they made a circle in front of journalists. A seriologist advocate of paranormal explanations of crop circles, Pat Delgado, examined the circle and declared it authentic before it was revealed that it was a hoax. Inspired by Australian crop circle accounts from 1966, Bauer and Chorley claimed to be responsible for all circles made prior to 1987, and for more than 200 crop circles in 1978-1991, with 1,000 other circles not being made by them. Writing in Physics World, Richard Taylor of the University of Oregon said that the pictographs they created inspired a second wave of crop artists. Far from fizzling out, crop circles have evolved into an international phenomenon, with hundreds of sophisticated pictographs now appearing annually around the globe. After reports of simple circles in the 1970s, increasingly complex geometric designs have been created by anonymous artists, in some cases to attract tourists to an area. Since the early 1990s, the UK arts collective Circle Makers, founded by Rod Dickinson and John Lundberg, and subsequently including Weil Russell and Rob Irving, has been creating crop circles in the US and around the world as part of its art practice and also for commercial clients. The Led Zeppelin box set that was released on 7 September 1990, along with the remasters of the first box set, all feature an image of a crop circle that appeared in Eastfield in Alton Barnes, Wiltshire, on the night of 12 July 1992, a crop circle, making competition with a prize of 3,000, funded in part by the Arthur Koestler Foundation, was held in Berkshire. The winning entry was produced by 3 Westland Helicopters engineers using rope PVC pipe, a plank, string, a telescopic device, and 2 stepladders. According to Rupert Sheldrake, the competition was organized by him and John Michelin, co-sponsored by The Guardian and The Cereologist. The prize money came from PM, a German magazine. Sheldrake wrote that the experiment was conclusive. Humans could indeed make all the features of state of the art crop formations at that time. 11 of the 12 teams made more or less impressive formations that followed the set design. In 2002, Discovery Channel commissioned 5 aeronautics and astronautics graduate students from MIT to create crop circles of their own, aiming to duplicate some of the features claimed to distinguish real crop circles from the known fakes, such as those created by Bauer and Corley. The creation of the circle was recorded and used in the Discovery Channel documentary Crop Circles, Mysteries in the Fields. In 2009, The Guardian reported that crop circle activity had been waning around Wiltshire, in part because makers preferred creating promotional crop circles for companies that paid well for their effort. A video sequence used in connection with the opening of the 2012 Summer Olympics in London showed 2 crop circles in the shape of the Olympic rings. Another Olympic crop circle was visible to passengers landing at nearby Heathrow Airport before and during the game. A 7-acre, 2.8-hectare crop circle depicting the emblem of the Star Wars Rebel Alliance was created in California in December 2017 by a father and his 11-year-old son as a spaceport for X-Wing fighter. In 1992, Gabor Takacs and Robert Dallas, both then aged 17, were the first people to face legal action after creating a crop circle. In his 1997 book, The Demon-Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark, Carl Sagan concludes that crop circles were created by Bauer and Chorley and their copycats, and speculates that ufologists willingly ignore the evidence for hoaxing so they can keep believing in an extraterrestrial origin of the circles. Many others have demonstrated how complex crop circles can be created. Scientific American published an article by Matt Ridley, who started making crop circles in northern England in 1991. He wrote about how easy it is to develop techniques using simple tools that can easily fool later observers. He reported on expert sources such as the Wall Street Journal, who had been easily fooled and mused about why people want to believe supernatural explanations for phenomena that are not yet explained. Methods of creating a crop circle are now well documented on the internet. Some crop formations are paid for by companies who use them as advertising. Some even argue a conspiracy theory, with governments planting evidence of hoaxing to muddle the origins of the circles. When Ridley wrote negative articles in newspapers, he was accused of spreading government disinformation and of working for the UK military intelligence service, MI5. Ridley responded by noting that many cereologists make good livings from selling books and providing high-priced personal tours through crop fields, and he claimed that they have vested interests in rejecting what is by far the most likely explanation for the circle. In science magazines from the 1980s and 1990s, for example, Science Illustrated, One could read reports suggesting that the plants were bent by something that could be microwave radiation, rather than broken by physical impact. The magazines also contain serious reports of the absence of human influence and measurement of unusual radiation. Today, this is considered to be pseudoscience, while at the time it was subject of serious research. At that time, it was also more likely that an unknown factor was behind the incidents, not least seen in light of the fact that GPS was not available to the public. Patterns similar to crop circles can also be made in snow by using skis, snowshoes, or just walking with ordinary shoes. Patterns similar to crop circles can also be made in sand. Images can be made in forests by cutting trees, especially in areas with snow. Celebrating the Olympic Games in Lillehammer, Norway in 1994. A 360-meter tall stylized image of an Olympic torch runner was made in a forest close to one of the arenas. It has been suggested that crop circles may be the result of extraordinary meteorological phenomena ranging from freak tornadoes to ball lightning, but there is no evidence of any crop circle being created by any of these causes. In 1880, an amateur scientist, John Rand Capron, wrote a letter to the editor of journal Nature about some circles and crops and blamed them on a recent storm, saying their shape was suggestive of some cyclonic wind action. In 1980, Terence Meaden, a meteorologist and physicist, proposed that the circles were caused by whirlwinds whose course was affected by southern England hills. As circles became more complex, Terence had to create increasingly complex theories, blaming an electromagnetohydrodynamic plasma vortex. The meteorological theory became popular, and it was even referenced in 1991 by physicist Stephen Hawking, who said that corn circles are either hoaxes or formed by vortex movement of air. The weather theory suffered a serious blow in 1991, but Hawking's point about hoaxes was supported when Bauer and Chorley stated that they had been responsible for making all those circles. By the end of 1991, Meaden conceded that those circles that had complex designs were made by hoaxes. Since becoming the focus of widespread media attention in the 1980s, crop circles have become the subject of speculation by various paranormal, ufological, and anomalistic investigators, ranging from proposals that they were created by bizarre meteorological phenomena to messages from extraterrestrial beings. There has also been speculation that crop circles have a relation to ley lines. Many New Age groups incorporate crop circles into their belief system. Some paranormal advocates think that crop circles are caused by ball lighting and that the patterns are so complex that they have to be controlled by some entity. Some proposed entities are Gaia asking to stop global warming and human pollution, God, supernatural beings, for example, Indian divas, the collective minds of humanity through a proposed quantum field, or extraterrestrial beings, responding to local beliefs that extraterrestrial beings and UFOs were responsible for crop circles appearing, the Indonesian National Institute of Aeronautics and Space, and described crop circles as man-made. Thomas Jamaludin, research professor of astronomy and astrophysics at LAPA. ATAN stated, "We have come to agree that these things cannot be scientifically proven." Among others, paranormal enthusiasts, ufologists, and anomalistic investigators have offered hypothetical explanations that have been criticized as pseudoscientific by skeptical groups and scientists, including the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. No credible evidence of extraterrestrial origin has been presented. In 2009, the Attorney General for the island state of Tasmania stated that Australian wallabies had been found creating crop circles in fields of opium poppies, which are grown legally for medicinal use, after consuming some of the opiate-laden poppies and running in circles. A small number of scientists, physicist L. Joe Hasselhoff, the late biophysicist William Levengood, have found differences between the crops inside the circles and outside them. citing this as evidence they were not man-made. Levengood published papers in Journal Physiologia Plantarum in 1994 and 1999. In his 1994 paper, he found that certain deformities in the grain inside the circles were correlated to the position of the grain inside the circle. In 1996, skeptic Joe Nickell objected that correlation is not causation, raised several objections to Levengood's methods and assumptions, and said until his work is independently replicated by qualified scientists doing double-blind studies and otherwise following stringent scientific protocols, there seems no need to take seriously the many dubious claims that Levengood makes, including his similar ones involving plants at alleged cattle mutilation sites, in reference to cattle mutilation. In 2000, Colin Andrews, who had researched crop circles for 17 years, stated that while he believed 80% were man-made, he thought the remaining circles, with less elaborate designs, could be explained by a 3-degree shift in the Earth's magnetic field that creates a current that electrocutes the crops, causing them to flatten and form the circle. Researchers of crop circles have linked modern crop circles to old folkloric tales to support the claim that they are not artificially produced. Crop circles are culture-dependent. They appear mostly in developed and secularized Western countries where people are receptive to New Age beliefs, including Japan, but they don't appear at all in other zones, such as Muslim countries. Fungi can cause circular areas of crop to die, probably the origin of tales of fairy wrens. Tales also mention balls of light many times, but never in relation to crop circles. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to please like and subscribe. If you have a topic you would like to suggest, leave a comment.